We awoke early on day 4 and had a nice cooked breakfast. We'd done 47 miles so far, and I knew we had to keep pushing on today. I started wondering just how far a narrowboat could do in one day. Ideally, about 32 miles would be great, because that would put us quite close to the stand ground lock. That's one that you have to book in advance, so I would need to know what sort of time I would arrive. All I needed to do now was to find some lock buddies to speed up our journey. I wonder where I'd find those. Now, do you remember me saying in the last episode some of these locks were manual? Well, Denford Lock 21, our first lock of the day, was one of those manual locks. Actually, this one wasn't too bad because the weights meant that the lock wanted to come up on its own, but some of them were much stiffer. There's another one of those crazily angled bridges at Thrapston, and actually tucked away to the left is some visitors' moorings. Do you remember in the last episode I talked about buying a pass for Friends of the Mean? Well, this is one of their moorings on the left. It's called Islip Dave. I never met Islip Dave, but I understand he's a nice guy. The river gods were clearly looking favourably on us, because as we reached the lock at Islip, we found this boat just leaving, so we could slip straight in. These moorings at Thrapston are especially tall to allow for flooding. The lock at Titchmarsh was typical of those along this stretch of the river. It had a little mill alongside, which was very picturesque. Lucky I was keeping a very sharp lookout because I noticed this orange bag floating in the water ahead of me. It turned out to be a sort of early warning bag for a swimmer, but to be honest it was quite hard to make out what it actually was from way back. We had another surprise just after Upper Barnwell Lock, when we realised that Jubilee was not going to fit under the bridge ahead of us. The satellite dish on the roof was never going to fit under that bridge, so I had to back up and get the screwdrivers out and remove it before we could proceed. Even then the clearance wasn't huge, so I took a photograph of the air draft at the time so I could check it on the way back. As we prepared the lock at Warmington, none other than Mohawk arrived with Cat and Andy. It was good to know that we'd have lock buddies for the rest of the day. I have to say that the countryside along this section of the Lee is really glorious. Most of it is very, very rural, only punctuated by locks and the occasional other boat anchor. As the afternoon pressed on, I was really glad to be cruising in company with Mohawk. Both Susie and I were starting to get quite tired. We'd done lots of locks by now. We were certainly looking forward to mooring up for the night. Near the lock at Water Newton was this lovely old church. Like so many locks, this one also had a mill, and actually as we left, if you look back carefully, you can see the waters running right out under the building. It was about 7:30 before we finally spied the Milton Ferry Bridge, which is quite close to Overton Lake. So we started to keep a sharp lookout for the hidden turn that would take us to our mooring. Then finally I saw it, a little gap to the right that would take us up a very, very narrow channel and onto the lake itself. By now we'd been on the go for over 12 hours, and I for one was very glad to find this beautiful mooring spot for the night. Later that evening, after dinner, we even found a shop so we could stock up our supplies. Having had glorious weather so far, the next day we woke up to a quite cloudy start and not a favourable forecast. It seemed very clear that heavy rain was coming. Kat and Andy left quite early as they wanted to head into Peterborough and get some shopping for themselves. We had the stand ground lock booked for about midday, so it was a nice easy start for us. With only 4 locks to do today, and actually only 2 of them we would do ourselves, I was pretty confident that 26 miles was not going to be a big ask. At Alton Lock, we found ourselves the subject of a school outing as we were surrounded by a bunch of school kids very interested in the workings of the lock. As you approach Peterborough, the beautiful countryside soon gives way to a more industrial and commercial setting. These huge bridges come up quite quickly, carrying both road and rail traffic. And that boat on the right, I did have to wonder how they got it under that bridge. It wasn't long until we spied Mohawk moored up, its crew off shopping in one of the nearby supermarkets. The first really big rain shower hit just before we got to the stand ground lock, so we don't have a lot of footage of that. But when we were in the lock keeper was super helpful. You need to buy a special lock key from him from the next lock down, and you have to have cash for that. There are no card facilities there. But the lock keeper gave us all the information we needed and was incredibly helpful. As we left the lock, the heavens opened again, and I could see this rain was going to be set in for most of the afternoon. When we reached the Ashline lock, we were able to see just how different the paddles are here. They're hydraulically operated and they're very easy to use, but they take a lot of turns. The lock's also quite a funny size too. It wasn't very standard in any way, shape or form. As Kat and Andy hadn't planned to bring Mohawk back this way, they hadn't actually invested in the key, so we stayed and helped them through that lock. When you're crossing the middle levels, you have to be prepared for these long straight runs. They really do go on a long way. For us, it continued to rain, and we were quite glad when we reached the moorings at Upwell where we were to spend the night. Next time, we're going to tackle some tidal waters for the first time, and we'll have a mechanical failure. If you've enjoyed this vlog, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching.